miracles do come true for many. How many people want to know what a true miracle it is for us to be sitting in this circle, right? How many of us would be sitting in a circle, exposing our hearts to people in the same mindset that I am, right? How many people want to be in a group where they all think alike, act alike, pretend to be loving, right? That's where many people are in the spiritual paradigms. And I want to honor the vision of those who feel like that's where I operate from. I don't align myself with many. Let's put it that way. And when I say that, it means that I'm not here to go into your hearts, figure out who you are, poke holes in your stories that you tell yourselves, and try to give you the most amazing soul session ever, right? Most people understand that we create a lot of our own issues, but in essence, if you look at it from a different perspective, it becomes almost like the miracle of birth. We're all here producing these beautiful visions of love without even realizing what's going on behind the scenes. How many people want to know? I heard from a beautiful family member as I was sitting here thinking about my own vision of love for my family. I have few viewers in my life who I honor more than those who are new viewers and those who are also not in the vision of who I am as a family member or as a friend. But in addition to who I claim as my family, it would be all of those souls here in this vision who are taking the time to look into their own visions of who they are, acknowledge the beauty of their hearts, their minds, and their souls, and say, I may not agree with those souls on a certain idea or a certain vision, but I can honor that vision as one that's right for them potentially in that moment. You see, in the vision of love that I hold so strong for myself, I've been given enough of a light wing energy. Most people are going to understand when they watch the videos about the nature of having a light wing in your vision. So some people are going to say, I can't handle those visions of light wing. Those are the light workers of the world that come here to stoke the fires of change. Okay, you'll see aspects of that in yourselves. How many people want to do anything other than vibrate in the beauty of who they are? If you are in the spiritual paradigms often, that's what you're being called to do. Let me either stoke the fires of change. Does it have to be a fire? First of all, that invokes the nature of anger for many. Okay? And that's where we could place many, depending on where you fall, right? But in the spiritual paradigms, people are often thinking, well, it must be a liberal agenda in order to be those. You would be surprised how many people in the spiritual paradigms are actually in agreement with some of those in the, more traditional religious paradigms. And it's a fascinating place to be able to see the comparison and contrast. Okay, so that's where we are. And now, think about the miracle that you are when you were born. How many people then go to the vision of, I think I'm feeling something a little different. I'm feeling different in my heart. I feel the need to grow. Do I reach out to my family tree and say thank you for the vision of love? Or do I go to those higher visions of who I am as a soul and say thank you for bringing me the love from my family? Many people who are on the path of soul embodiment will often have to reevaluate a lot of who they are. And that's a natural occurrence, and it doesn't mean you leave everyone behind. Some people will get left behind in my vision, and we have talked about that vision. But I'm being honored by those souls that still understand what it's like in this plane of understanding to do the work, to feel the pressures of society, to be a certain way or not, and then to lift yourself up to the loving vibrations of your own hearts and minds and say, where do we go? Miracles are aligning every day in my mind. That's what can happen with me, right? If you believe in the beauty of love for your own heart, you can't even imagine what that does for most people. You start to let go of a lot of the conditioning of society, right? And what if you're just wanting to invoke the name of Christ, right? That's where some people go. That's another vision of, conditioning by many's standards. And so in your vision of, is my life worth risking? That's where some would say I head when I go to the light. I don't attract the visions of destroyers in my vision. I honor that vision. Most people will disagree with that vision and say, I don't agree with how you evaluate a soul level understanding. And in essence, that's the beauty of who we are. We all have various levels of understanding about what is or isn't right for us and our hearts. My heart says don't go to political ideology sometimes. And then those fiery wings of the phoenix come crashing into my heart, and I rise up to the beauty of rebirth. That's a vision I hold very strong for who I am. I'm here to help us unwind the visions that can destroy our visions, right? It's not about that. That's what I went through. I went through that vision of the rebirthing of my soul as a soul embodiment vision. And I want to honor your hearts and your minds and say, how can I help you? This is one of those visions. How can I help you? Now, for many, they're going to say, well, I just go to a different vision of love where it feels good to me. I know what's right for my mind is where most go. And that's going to be hard for certain people to understand, right? Isn't it that way in the other realms? I just vibrate in the beauty of who I am, and then I rise to another level of understanding. I was gifted with that beauty. Okay? I rise to those levels of understanding where people say, is this always about the challenges of my mind? Or is it about understanding how we can vibrate in various levels without feeling guilty about it or feeling like I'm doing something wrong? And I'm going to talk about that nature, and I love my family trees that go for it and challenge me. I love it. It is an opportunity for growth for me that is huge. And that's the thing that most people don't understand. It is not easy to get to that place. That's why I'm where I'm at. I'm not done growing. I'm not done learning. I am done working. Now, my soul did tell me earlier this evening that you are done learning. You know how to do the visions. I learned by experiencing the world, the joys, the pains, the sorrows of others, as well as the happiness and the desire to create beauty. Wherever I go, I hold all in the vibration of love. I may not agree with the beauty of who I am, right? This is another idea of the self-worth. I struggled in that moment just earlier. Oh my gosh, so many people are going to be offended by my vision, assuming that they are on one side of the fence versus the other. And in essence, my view was, I'm going to climb to a higher understanding of political ideology. Do I align with one side or the other? Most people will say I'm a Democrat. I don't align with that vision at all, to be honest. One side of the fence would say, well, then you must be over here. Let me tell you what was happening earlier today. I came through with a vision of love, with the understanding that my soul will let me rise to another level of love outside of political ideology when it's needed. If I am in that moment of being able to inform others of future, I am here to do the work of letting people know in the moments before, correct? That's where I'm showing my stuff. The ideologies that we hold of news is often the beauty of the world coming together on a level that we wouldn't normally be able to do. And so I'm going to address a certain family member who I love dearly because he's my biggest fan on a different level of understanding. Okay, we each have our own beauty coming together to make a bridge of love that's very strong. And that's his heart. He's about making bridges, right? That's the building of networks and organizations, okay? For me, the building of bridges is where I go in my heart. But my mind can sometimes tear them down. And that's the nature of where some people go. And when they go down the path of embodiment, you might have to go down that path of burning bridges. And, let's talk about that. Most of my bridges, and I want you to think about how many people in your life you've come across that you let go, right? And some people, Facebook would definitely say, yeah, that's probably a good place to look for those bridges that I let go of. And why? See, when you go online, and this is about the miracle of it, we often start to reconnect with those in a different way than what we did pre-internet, right? This is how we find out more about who we are or who we aren't. So it is not about being labeled bad or dishonest. I don't burn the bridges, I just let them rot. Right? That's one of my bridge. One of my bridges, I was like, I can't maintain that bridge. I maintain it on a level of love. But on this plane, I'm like, I don't have enough in me to give you guys that vision of what that means. How many of us just stop talking to each other? Or how many of us say, I don't want to rock the boat? How many of us say, I just want the peace in my heart? And how many of us say, I want to know what's going on with my own heart? Okay? And that's the nature of many. So in this idea of the miracle and the miracle in the making, that's where it can feel like you go when you go down the path of soul embodiment. But this isn't just for those who are in the vision of it. This is about those souls who want to rise to a different level of understanding past soul. I'm in the vision of God, therefore I can do whatever I want. That's the majority of people who believe in the Bible, right? Unless they're in the vision of, Jesus or Christ. Christ is also in that vision of embodiment. Now, the majority of people are going to want to know, what does that mean? Do I feel the beauty of love walking with me? So for me, as I was reading one of my sessions, because I have to do the transcript as well, I was getting told about when I was going more towards the center of the universe, right? The world does not revolve around the political realms. However, and I mean this in all sincerity, I don't give a blank about the personal agenda of Trump. That's what most people are going to be saying in about 10 to 20 years. Okay. Did I take on that vision of Trump in my heart? So some people are going to assume if I'm bringing through that soul information that somehow I took on his identity. That's where some people are. If you start speaking the words of Trump, then you are starting to do that embodiment of his vision. Okay, so that's where some people will say, I need to bring through the vision of love for my own soul. I get told my own family members are with me in their hearts. Okay, but I want to honor those visions for those who think they have it all figured out. I am not one of those people that would claim ever as a soul guide that I have the answers for everybody all at once. I could come through and say, I will try to give you your best soul session ever. Carolina is coming through. That's a vision of someone who I love in my heart, who I used to work with, who honors my vision of love. For her heart was in the vision of, I was of, weight. Okay. I get accused of focusing on my health too much in my mind. And now, in essence, we look around us and we see the beauty of who I am with and without makeup. So you want to know what it's like to do the vision of a miracle. When people can come through in this world, as a female especially, and not have to worry about the beauty aspect of who they are. Because we determined that in my mind, I came through as a female where people are focused on what I look like rather than what the information is. Do you want to know what it's like to feel that vision of love? When your soul says you're beautiful just as you are, that's what they will come through with for all of us. So the miracle in the making is more about your own vision of what a miracle is. Do I get to hear my future come to me? And is it beautiful? Or is it something I need to learn from or grow from? Is it some kind of hint? See, for me, I get hints about things that need to be addressed now to avoid problems in the future. I will give you an example. Hearing a last name of someone who is my son's tutor, who is, in essence, supposed to be buying the latest math book for his class that he needs tutoring in, and I am supposed to be reimbursing them. I had forgot about that vision. Class is starting next week. I want to make sure that vision of book got bought. So that reminded me that I needed to reach out to her and confirm whether or not I needed to pay her, or what form of payment, to send her. And do you not understand that's the kind of beauty that people will start to get when they embody their soul? Now for your souls, I will say, let me take a few breaths and see what is going to come through. Well, now I just got told that Margaret Thatcher was on the line. So how many people want to hear from Margaret Thatcher? How many people don't even remember who Margaret Thatcher was or is? Because it's the soul of her soul, okay? She's still in that vision of mediumship. Many people still feel like that's the way to go. Go for it, honey. You know where it's at, right? It's the strength of understanding that our souls do not die. We just go on to other levels of vibration and understanding. Okay, so the density of our bodies are here. Margaret Thatcher was a miracle in the making. We all are. But as we come together in this vision of love, I want to honor her heart. It's what's coming through. If you're not in that vision of political ideology, I don't know what else to say. She was the strongest female I know in my mind. That's her vision. I want my heart to align with this woman who will go across the aisle and say, I will take your hands in mine. I will honor your vision of love for all souls. I will make sure I honor your vision, whether you are, biased or not. I don't care if you hate me. I will honor your vision of love for all souls. That's the vision that I hold for her and for me. She was like, we're all about this vision of let's build bridges. But in essence, we are seeing all of our leaders in essence who are starting to do that vision of division, right? That's one issue I can tackle very strong. Others will say this is a bad place to be. Do we want to hold on to the vision of Margaret Thatcher? She's prime minister of another country at one point in time, correct? What do I know about the British monarchy? She is in that vision. I had to work within that system of government that still honored that vision of division. Right? You get that, right? Are we going back to the vision of monarchy? No, not even close. So in essence, Margaret Thatcher would say the U.S. is not even on that vision of it. This is one blip in the radar of our future. That's her vision. Don't worry about it. We've got it under control. The monarchs of the world are also on the line. I've already had my vision with Diana Soul. Okay, but that's a different kind of monarchy. Okay? Now, we could come through with the vision of other political realms. Is that the miracle in the making? Do you want to have a higher understanding of where we sit with other souls? How many people want to know, do I get access to the political outcomes? And can I put my hat on that vision? So for me, as a person of love and faith in my own soul, that's where most will start to go when they go to the nature of soul embodiment. They start to look in and they say, what's best for my own heart? Margaret Thatcher would say, I rose to the level of priesthood if I were going down the path of faith. I would be able to do those sessions of sin that others are placing upon my heart. If you're in the vision of religion, in many cases, you would be saying either that I am blessed, because some people, do play that role in those evangelical, visions. And others would say what I am doing is of sin, right? Which vision of, do they talk about politics in the churches? Or is that where we're getting our news, right? For Margaret Thatcher, she was saying, don't even bother with the visions of those who are not in the same mindset of I want to understand. So the miracle in the making is for those of us who actually want to understand, one, how does the planet Earth work? How do we create this vision? if we have various levels of understanding, what happens in the process of embodiment that takes me to another level of understanding? Do I grant myself the beauty of mediumship? That's what some people would say, because they think that it's less than. So I'm being called out on the carpet in some ways for denying that vision of mediumship. But what happens is it's more like their own soul's understanding. Okay. Did they rise above the level of who they were in this moment? You see, I'm embodied by my soul. So I'm not bringing in their information. I'm not pausing and listening and whatnot. I'm soul embodiment. That's why I don't claim mediumship in essence. I'm not saying the information is less than. I'm just saying that, based on what a lot of people would understand as a medium, that's not what happens. Okay, it's also why the channeling for the soul is very strong. Grand entrance will come through on Sunday's edition of Channel for the Soul. It will be a strong vision of the jealous souls. Right? Jealous. Don't be jealous ever of who I am. That's another vision. Okay? So for those of you who are working with your hearts, trying to get your visions to come through, I'm trying to work with those of you who are also, very much interested in the views of love for your spouses. And you would say, I want to honor the vision of my spouse who's taking care of me. I want to honor the vision of my spouse who honors my heart, who honors my condition, who honors my listening skills. It takes a lot of love from your hearts, whoever you deem to be in your heart, to go down the path of embodiment. It takes a lot of work to get through to those souls as well that need more visions for their future. And in essence, I want to be able to do the sessions remotely with people. Please call me or reach out if you need a session. I will work with you. And at this point, if someone is in that vision of, I'm okay, I don't need it that bad, I'm going to honor your vision by saying, Jamie and Greg are on the phone with their vision of love for their family tree, and they know the vision of, I can't talk to these other souls about where I'm at because I'm afraid that my political ideology is going to get brought through, or that I'm going to be called out on the carpet or whatnot. That's not what happens in a soul session. So the societal impact visions are not there to make people feel, you don't get that from your own soul. It's not meant to divide. And some people are going to feel it as like a division stick, right? So some people feel that political ideologies are somehow divisive. And in essence, it can be. But it is also an honoring of how do we grow from it, right? And most people of past would say we didn't talk about it in our families, right? That was a lot of people in the past. We don't discuss politics or religion because we know that it is a very, personal topic. But if I come through with your vision of love that says you're just fine where you are, don't worry about the vision that's of others around you, I can honor that vision. Now your soul is saying, I want you to do more push-ups or sit-ups. That would be my heart too. And I'm trying not to be, someone's laughing. Someone is talking about push-ups and sit-ups. If that's my soul, I'm going to laugh. I'm serious. There's someone there that's hounding somebody about that vision. I can't do them anymore. Right? I cannot do those visions of what it is that people want to hear. Okay, so I hope someone is understanding. They think that that's a funny kind of joke. But in essence, it's not about trying to demean people. Some people are in that vision of I need help with those visions. How do I do those visions? Okay, so the visions that you would put forth in your mind about anything that you want to produce it's like either an assumption or a placement of yourself as already there. That's usually where a lot of people can get those results that they seek, but it is not foolproof. And I don't mean that in the way of demeaning. So many people are able to play the game of manifesting. If it is deemed that that vision is correct, it usually will follow through with a joyful surprise. Okay, most people know the vision of division is what's really going to come through. Because the majority of people who are on this plane are still in the vision of my vision is superior in certain ways. I want to be able to open up to the nature of light. That's what some people will say. I was supposed to be talking about the miracle in the making. There's a reason that word keeps ringing true for people. How do I bring about the miracles? This is when we align with our soul. And that's the nature of it. When you align with your soul, you can produce those miraculous results. What you have to understand is that we are often in collusion with others around us. Others would say collusion, right? How many people go to these conferences and groups and say, we're all going to manifest this beautiful miracle? And how many of them do indeed receive those miracles? So you see, it's about where you place your focus for a lot of people. And when you are in the struggle in the moment, because that's where I was residing in many ways, and I still got my beauty handed to me. So it's not about just feeling good. It's not about just playing the game of life. It's not about pretending that everything is beautiful when it's not. And if you go to any other realm, they will say, oh, everything is beautiful, even the struggle. When you're in the moment of it, it is definitely not pretty. Let's put it that way. But when you're in the moment, if you can say, I'm here, I'm experiencing this, I'm going to be looking forward to the outcome of my health. When my health comes into alignment with who I am, that's when I can see the results of love. So it's not then about us. And this is why we're getting people out of the idea that they're the only ones that have a say, quote, in their vision of success. We create with everyone. So we want everyone around anyone who is sick, right? To also be in that vision of forgiveness. I'm not doing this to get back at you, right? Someone else is having an issue with the idea of forgiveness. The more I talk about forgiveness, the more people are going to understand what that means. And that can be seen as an enlightening process. Do I forgive people who have hurt me? I tend to watch out for those souls who are trying to interrupt my sessions with their own visions of what they want to hear. You're not going to get what you want to hear. You need to understand that your vision is always there with you. See, this is the nature of what a guide does. Do I always want to hear the truth, or do I want to hear the visions that align with who I am in the moment? Okay. So that's what the spiritual paradigms would, they would line the block with people who could bring through, visions of political ideology from the highest levels of understanding, right? How many people say, I may agree that I don't want to be a part of that vision of it, but how many of us need to be a part of it? Okay, some of the most enlightened people in the world are being told that in order for them to be of higher nature, they have to disconnect from the vision of the world or the vision of even our country, right? You don't even watch the news. You go outside and you look at the beauty of the world around you. That's a beautiful vision of love. It's one of the strongest views that the Bible will also agree with. What am I creating in the moment? What am I creating in this beautiful vision of love? That's a miracle in the making. When most people kind of start to see themselves as beautiful and worthy. And that's the nature of who I am. My own doubt about my vision of who I am was reconfirmed by my own family that I'm not disconnected from who they are, right? How many people are going to feel disconnected from their hearts based on the ideas of someone else? So my vision for me does not necessarily align with a lot of people in the spiritual, paradigms. And I'm not saying that's bad. And then others in those visions know there's a lot of those visions that come through very strong, and they're angry and they want things to change. And in essence, for my heart, in my most enlightened state of vision, I would say I just need to understand where we are. I want to understand the visions of where we are, how we got here, and can we move forward in a different way that's more, respectful to the souls of all of us. Okay, because it's about being respectful. And in some ways, wouldn't that feel somewhat like a miracle if we could just be respectful of other people's visions? Right? Whether or not they agree with us or not. Okay. 99 degrees is where we're going to be headed in the vision of flu. Okay. I have the flu is where some people are going to be residing. Okay. If I was in the place of seclusion without a news anchor at my side, would I be thinking about the fact that I might have the flu versus a deadly disease that's going to kill me? We can't disconnect from information. It's not the healthiest of ways to be at this point in time either, to live in it. But okay, so let's talk about this nature of it. Here's how I go about the business of figuring that one out as a soul worker. Okay, so think about me if I'm going about my business of doing soul sessions and I have a person who comes to me who's a news anchor or works in the government in some way, shape, or form. Would I deny them their beauty because they involve themselves in the nature of a certain career or profession? Do you get how I unwound that vision in the spiritual paradigms about news? It's not about the whole way of it, but it's about the reality of it. So if you're in the vision of I'm a news anchor and my job is to, play out the vision of here I am reporting the news as it is, as it has been given to me, right? Because we're not going to talk about what's, right, truth, and all of that kind of stuff. Okay. But would I be labeling that person's vision as less than? This is their career. This is their beauty. This is their honesty, right? They're like, I'm honestly trying to make an impact in the world. I'm not going to discredit that vision ever for anybody. Once you go to the understanding of why so many people leave the visions of spiritual paradigms for what I'm talking about, then you start to understand. I can understand those souls who say it depresses me. Turn it off, right? Or use it as a tool to gain understanding about other perspectives. If you can do that, most people have a hard time with that. I actually challenge myself. I go to various levels of understanding and try to understand from all these different, I don't go to the conspiracy stuff. That's going to send you on a whole different path of, movement. Okay. But in essence, it's not about discrediting anyone's ideas, because the majority of people do, in fact, watch probably a little bit too much news. If it's all of your day and you aren't in it to do a service, but you're just imbibing upon the negativity of it, for day in, day out, right? Or you're, involved in a nuclear incident. I was prepared for a nuclear incident. I am prepared for a nuclear incident. But I was told that that was not going to be happening anytime soon. Is it right for me to come through and tell people that their visions are less than? I'm not saying anything of the sort. What I'm saying is, your beautiful hearts that need your soul sessions would say, I'm starting to understand. I'm going to unwind not just a lot of the... When you go to this path, people start to hear a lot of the same things being said. Disconnect from society, disconnect from the world. That's what a lot of people in the spiritual paradigms start to do. Okay, we start to just, isolate, because we're like, this is negative and that's bad and that's bad. And I use it as a challenge to raise myself to like a better understanding of not just other people, but other ideas and other visions of strength. If I'm not looking outside of myself, right? How do I then know? And this is the nature of going in versus going out, right? I can talk to my soul all day long if I wanted to, right? Have discourse about various subjects. Literally, I could. I could take a word and have it's like an accountability is what people want. People want accountability for their hearts. So a lot of people will say, if I go to the highest level of understanding, the people are just going to be dealt with, on various levels of understanding. You're going to be in the spiritual paradigms or you're going to be in the religious paradigm. And I operate out of both. I know how to do both. I honor both. Most won't see it that way, but in essence, I already know how to do those visions. So sometimes I look to expand my consciousness, my understanding, and that's where the universal wisdom usually comes in. But the paradigms of spirituality are often not of interest. The guidance sessions for souls will say, Planet X is going to be the next big thing. That was a discovery. It is now in the consciousness of who we are. And that means we can create more visions of astrology within the vision of Planet X. That's one of those visions of universal wisdom that can just pop through. Who in this world is going to be talking about Planet X as, and it's the next one that we're going to be talking about. This is the vision of love. We're going to open up the discussion to people who have a passion for the process of light and who may be getting those visions of strength from their hearts. Okay? Your heart will guide you, people. And most people understand that vision. Our minds can be our worst enemies. Think about putting yourself in someone else's shoes and saying to yourself, if I were them with their background, their heredity, their decision-making process was conditioned by those family tree members, and you say, well, it's like if I were them, this is a strong question. If I were them, would I be doing the same thing that they're doing in this moment? And it's a valid question that's often put forth in certain circles. But the soul level understanding can take us to a different level of even that vision. Okay, that's the nature where many say we need to, increase the empathy vision for our hearts. Oh boy, let's talk about empathy in another session, okay? Those sensitive souls that need to disconnect from the vision of news because they take it on and don't understand. How come they feel bad? And that's the beauty of it. Usually a lot of us are those sensitive souls. And I want to honor your vision of sensitivity because that's what makes you strong. Okay? That sensitivity that you hold in your heart and say, I don't understand it. I don't understand why I'm so sensitive to the world visions when I am here in my body emboldening others to rise above that vision of victim mindset. And yet that's what we see played out on the screen, right? What we are seeing played out on the screen are usually many in that victim mindset, but the majority of people, if you start really looking, you're going to see actual victims of things. Okay? It's a playground for an empath like me. Not because of the people that are getting hurt, but it's literally the chance for me to go in and say to myself, do I actually feel sad for all of these people on the other side of the aisle or the other side of the fence? Do I actually have compassion for these people? Or am I putting on a big show? That's what a lot of people are going to start asking themselves because they don't understand the work that has to go on with your soul when you're doing that. And that's where some people can just do it naturally. I was questioning myself going, why did I react? What can I learn from this vision? Okay. If you can go onto the nightly news and say, yeah, I align with this, but let me try to understand the other visions that I see. And then others like, I can't do it. And we would say, I'm going to honor that. You don't need to do that. Okay. There is no one way to do the embodiment of a soul. What you're looking for is the embodiment of your own soul. And most will start to disagree with that vision because they're going to say it's lesser than the vision that I hold for myself, which is of a higher vision of nightly news. So the nightly news is what people are going to start tuning into. That's because it holds the key to unlocking the issue of religion's vision of love for all souls. A lot of people are putting the blame on the Christian religion for a lot of the issues in this country. Or at least that's the perception of it. Others will say those who are not in a faith are of problems. Our visions are not aligned. Therefore, that's why we create the division. On a soul level understanding, you will see the diversity value system come through. However, if I'm sitting with a soul who says, I don't want diversity in my environment, what comes through for them? The caretaking of a soul who is in the mindset of, I am of one race, one soul-bearing vision. And I will say, I honor your heart. You don't have to be anything else but who you are in this moment. If you are continuing to go down that path of love for one race, you might invite more of that vision into your heart. You would be guided to go to a higher level of understanding about what that actually, it's like the view of race needs to be addressed. If you are open to that vision of what a race actually means on a level of soul, it would be an enlightening vision of love. Love for your own heart can often take a beating. Did you envision your life being in the mindset of constriction or of holding only love for a certain class or race of people? And if you say, this is what was taught to me by my elders, we could honor that vision. And we would say, I get it. You were brought up in a certain way, place, time, and energy work would be done. I'm not going to do the vision it's not for whoever's on the screen. But in essence, that vision would have been disserved by the general guidance. But their vision for their soul would have guided them to an understanding of who they were. And it might not have been as much as, what are they there for in their session? See, because it's not always going to be, here, let's address something that's going on with you. Is it causing a problem in their hearts? See, that's the thing. Are people wanting to learn more, or are they beautiful in their moment and happy with who they are? See, because some people know we struggle in our mindsets. We struggle with the vision of, I don't want to feel the way that I do. Or others are like, no, this is the way it's supposed to be. So how do you deal with that vision of, I'm feeling good that I have these visions that others say are bad for me? Okay, because that's what that comes down to. That's a struggle for a worker like me, right? Not even close. It would be a discourse with the soul, and the soul would come through and say, I want to address the issue of race as well as the issue of sexism, ageism, classism, religious bias, right? All of those issues that are hot button topics. From a soul level, most people won't want to hear it, right? It forces us to go in and look and see where we ourselves hold those values dear to us? Are they a value of your soul? Or are they just planted there by your family? And that's the kind of thing that people have to understand. What level of understanding serves me well? What are you looking for in your life? Are you wanting to hold society's values as superior to yours? Or do you not understand that that's where the majority of the creation is coming from? So if I don't actually look to a societal vision, I might actually not even be able to create much. You'll create the beauty of who you are. But in essence, and I want to realign with that vision a little bit. The majority of people don't create within the vision of, I'm the lone wolf. I participate in society's vision of love for the most part. Most people do. They're going out, they're visiting with people, they're working or not. I mean, we don't mean that to demean people that are not in that vision of, I'm out of a job or whatnot. Those are the kinds of issues that I could address. Can you get another job in the vision in which you're saying, I don't have the job that I want? I want the job that people say is not right for me, right? Some people go into those visions of jobs that are like conducive to violence. Okay. Some people do those visions. The motions of wisdom are that to disconnect from society can lead you to some beautiful, it's like the ideas of love. That's where you start to gain that vision of, who am I? And sometimes it's hard for us to figure out who we are if we are always with other people. Okay, but we can use that tool as a growth and say, who am I not? Right? Who am I? I love these people, therefore I'm good with them. But love can be blind. And others will look at that and say that that is a good thing. And it is. Love is blind as if I'm, not seeing people as, like colors, right? That's what a lot of people, or it's the idea of how someone looks isn't necessarily, telling me much about who they are as a person, right? A lot of people will use how a person looks and make judgment calls based on that ideology, whatever vision they have about what is beautiful or acceptable or whatnot. Lightning strikes twice for me. That's another vision. Breaking the bounds of space and time is what I'm good at. Okay, so this was about the partridge. So now we're starting to get more visions of randomness that kind of come in for people. It's about time for me to kind of disconnect. But I want to end this session and wind us back to this nature of what the miracle in the making is. All souls are miracles. We're creating this beauty of who we are in the moment. And if I can acknowledge that vision for all souls, then I can acknowledge it for myself. So that's the kind of mindset that you want to keep in mind. I produce a miracle. Why? I'm here. I'm creating beauty in the moment. I love who I am, whether I actually think so in my mind or not. I can honor the vision of love. I can honor the vision of hate. And most people don't understand that vision because it is a necessary emotion for many people to get us out of other visions that are not good for us. So you see, I hate somebody is often not what's wise, okay, for people. I hate blank. Okay, you hate somebody. I can honor that vision. You don't want to be around that person. How many people are in hatred and are stuck? Okay, and that's a different vibration because it's more like, well, I couldn't get out of that situation. I'm going to call out people that say I can't do anything about X, Y, or Z. The majority of people are more in the state of I don't want to, or I'm afraid to, or, that's a lot of it. There are definitely situations and whatnot where people are in that state of I'm stuck, and we want to honor that vision. Granted, your soul will say, I can lead you. Well, some people will say, oh, your soul's leading you astray. I don't have that vision of lost. This is another it's like an ideology that comes along with a lot of the spiritual paradigms. The idea of lost souls. You do not lose your soul. Okay? What it is like, it's about trying to realize who you are. Okay? This is the nature of Soul, the vision of the movie about the lost souls. And notice how they're portrayed in there. These scary things, So that would be us, all of us. We would all be those scary creatures, right? That look like we don't, have everything all figured out. Right? Well, no, not all of us. Most of us don't even think about the nature of souls or whether or not they're, part of us or not. So, yeah, I'm going to kind of wind this down a little bit. I want to have one session where I talk about the movie. I honor the vision. I have some issues with certain aspects of it, but in the most enlightening way ever, I would say it's a beautiful representation of one vision of soul that was not specific in its portrayal of soul birth. They show birth as little babies coming through, right? Little beings of love and light bouncing their way into the world, right? And that's the nature of the beginning of the end. We keep going. See, there's still that vision of outside, right? And these caretakers. And in essence, there are those visions of it. But it's more than that, okay? We keep creating, and those visions do give us a good visual for many, especially the children. Others are not going to like it, but the visions are scary for the lost souls. A lot of people will say, "Oh, I deal with those visions," and they'll look at those as more as it's a difference in frequency and vibration that souls reside on. And it's just not the same dealing with those people that have that vision of love as everlasting. So for me, in my mindset, I know that we create from different places of understanding. The majority of us don't have, those visions of love all figured out. And that's the nature of where we go. When we go to certain groups, we start to vibrate in them. Do they make sense? Do I want to go to my own soul? Do I want to go to Brenda's soul? Do I want to go to someone else's soul who is of higher vision and can explain the nitty-gritty of soul embodiment, where I sit down, vibrate in the beauty of who I am, look at myself in the mirror, accept who I am, destroy the visions of those around me, right? Is that what it takes? Some people will do that vision and they will destroy visions around them. They will say, that's not the way it is to be. That's not who I am. But I have to honor the vision of what it's like for me. So if your vision of soul embodiment is, my name is Teresa and I am very much embodied by my heart. most people I know are going to go to the vision of soul embodiment and they're going to feel like they're being invaded by other souls. Okay? And that's not how it is. That's why I'm trying to make sure people understand that a lot of the mediums apparently are indeed embodied, and it takes time to get there, apparently. Okay? You don't want to demean any soul vision when you go to the nature of soul embodiment, because every vision of soul is valid. So if someone says, I'm being attacked, Brenda will understand why. I understand it. I know what that vision is like. I had to go through a fear of that vision, and it was produced for me so I could understand it. And I didn't know if I was going to make it through that vision, to be honest. That's why I don't want anyone really going through that process if they don't have someone to lean on. Someone who they can just, open up to and talk to and say, here's what I'm going through. Does this make sense to you? Does this, can you just listen to me while I talk it through? And then someone will say, no, those visions that you're holding for yourself are not valid, right? I love you. That's the nature of what you need when you go through this process. You need strong people around you, hopefully, or at least one person that says, I love you forever. Okay? That's what most of us want to hear. Okay? But that's the nature of it. When you have those visions, and those are usually, you're going to, hopefully it's a family member or your loved one. It could be a friend. It doesn't matter. And you say, I love you forever. And those visions keep, playing out on the other realms. So we do create that vision of everlasting love. The everlasting love does come through from our hearts. Our souls have our soulmates, right? We have our families, which are our aspects. So it's not a discontinuation of family trees. It's more like an expanding of it. I expand my family tree when I open up my heart to those souls who don't even know who I am. And I say, I love you. Thank you so much for your guidance. Because that's what people do. They're showing us visions of who we are or who we aren't, right? In our minds, anyways. I love my family tree, even if I disagree with them. They're showing me the beauty of what it's like to come into the world, honor our ancestry, right? Or not. And say, maybe that was a vision of healing that I needed to go through. Not all family trees are beautiful, right? I can see the beauty in every family tree. Everyone. Because in essence, how do you think we get out of that vision that I am a part of the vibration of it? Because in essence, we all came here to do our lives and our work. We did various things, right? We all have different ideas about what we're here to do. So it's not about discounting the beauty of mediumship or family trees or anything. People are going to hear some of those early visions and understand that for me, I was so enmeshed in the idea of my family tree or my family that I couldn't break free from the value systems that were holding me back from experiencing those. It's like, we assume that the family is still creating on a vision of you have to believe like me. But the discourse that we can have as a family tree, right? If I wanted to bring through my family trees, I could bring that through. But this is the nature of it, right? Those tend to be those visions we create with until we don't. And then we create our own families, or we're often, think about how much time we are in the vision of I spend more time at work than I do with my family. Who are you creating with? Now, that doesn't mean you love everyone you work with, right? How many people are going to go, oh my God, I don't want to go down that path? What do you mean I'm creating with the people I work with? Of course you are. You're interacting with them on a daily basis for the most part. My coworkers hate me, right? What are you doing there? Can you get free of that vision? Right? I struggled in groups, believe it or not, because I was always challenging the mindsets of the leaders. That's the mindset I go in. And most people, I would expect people to challenge me. Challenge me. And let me it's like the GERD energy. There's someone else there with GERD. Okay, grandma says GERD is not good. So stop with the GERD talk. That's a vision for somebody. It's like there's that vision in the religious realms that says, I will pray for your soul to be healed in the moment. And in the spiritual paradigm, they would say, stop focusing on that. Others like me would say, maybe I can come through with a vision of energy work that will heal that vision of GERD. What is it showing me? Is there some kind of alignment that I am in? Most people don't want to go down that path until you get into the spiritual paradigms, and then you start to notice that you don't have to heal from as many things when you embody your soul. They give you a lot of love. And so with that vision of forevermore from our family trees, our ancestors, the families of those who are of our choosing, our friends, right? Our acquaintances, well, usually it's our friends, but, those people that we hold in our hearts that we don't actually, have a blood tie to. So I want to honor your vision of love. Take care of your vision of miracles. You're beating in it every day. The fact that you breathe on this plane in many ways can be seen as a miracle. And the miracle in the making is that vision of lifting myself to an even higher understanding of what a miracle can be. Because we often think those miracles are the miraculous, things that, come about once in a lifetime. And that's what it is for me, right? Once in a lifetime. But it's the miracle for me that keeps giving. Okay? Our hearts, our minds, our bodies, our spiritual beings that bless us, right? This is some people, right? The ability to connect with an angel. Would someone say that would be a miracle? To me, it's just like another day at work. Not really. I don't connect with angels every day, but I do, in essence. I hear from my soul. My soul knows that vision very well. So I want to honor your hearts. You all have that vision in you. You don't have to do this work to feel like you're special, because you're beautiful just the way you are. Whether or not you want to imbibe upon another vision of soul, or if you're just like, I would rather just go to church and, think about the beauty of my life in someone else's vision, right? That's beautiful. There's nothing wrong with the idea of holding yourself to someone else's idea of who you are. But I would be lying if I said that I don't agree with that vision for the most part. I know that your own vision of love is very strong for you. The family members would say, I hold my children in the highest of regards, or my grandchildren or whatnot. But in essence, a lot of us do have to break free of the vision that our families hold for us, because it can be a lot of conditioning behind those visions, right? And we all know that. That's why a lot of us break free from those visions of parents as we grow older, I'm not here to just be another version of my dad or another version of my mom. Heaven forbid, right? So anyways, take care, honor your hearts, honor your souls. And as always, have fun with this process if you can. If you can look at the news and imbibe upon it without destroying the vision of somebody, you're in a pretty darn good place. Okay? If you're in the place of, I need to disconnect from faith, or I need to disconnect from the vision of news, then we can do that vision as well. That's a good place as well. There's no rules when it comes to soul embodiment or to you being you. So take care, honor your hearts, honor your minds, and love yourselves fiercely. That's what your soul would tell you. Good night.